Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's Morgan Danielle, and I ain't doing a mukbang, but I do have a cupcake that I'm about to eat as we talk about a story time. I ain't did a story time in a minute, and I feel like this story time is gonna be funny, informative. If you're trans, very informative, and I'm getting ready to go out. So I wanted to show off my beat, so a better way. So let's get started. This story time, as you can tell by the title, is called He Didn't Know I Was Trans. Now, for all you fucking trolls who love to hop in my mentions and be like, well, you look like a nigga to me. Look, okay, bitch, here's my last time addressing you. So I want you to pause this video, write down what I say, and like keep it tucked somewhere. So every time you come on my videos, you will have this ready. A, I don't care about your opinion. B, you don't know me in real life, so you don't know how I look in real life. C, male and female is subjective. It depends on who's looking, at what angle, at what time, and what to them is perceived as male or female. Period. With all this information that you now have, step into the world and shut the fuck up. Thanks. So before I went to this school that I'm currently at, let me take my bracelets off before people clock it. But before I started going to the school that I currently go to, I met a guy, and we're gonna just call him Fluffy. I'm gonna call him Fluffy because he's fluffy, and seeing him in person, which we'll talk about that later, but seeing him in person, he's fluffy. Okay, so I believe I met Fluffy on Tinder. I think we both swiped right on each other. And so from there on, we just started talking. And at the time on my Tinder, I did not have that I was trans in the bio. It's usually something I include. Like, I don't want to ever put it out there like it's okay to not disclose that you're trans. And I know a lot of trans women and a lot of people who are activists feel as though it is our right to disclose. And I feel like in certain instances, it really is our right. Like, when it comes to me being in a supermarket, if a man hits on me, it's not my job to disclose that because it's none of his business. Or it's like, it's not my job to go in certain areas and disclose it to random strangers. But when it comes down to dating and like love life and stuff like that, just to be on the safe side, because we do get murdered at a high rate, it is important to tell and disclose before you get involved with any man that you're trans. And I know some people may disagree, and that is your right to disagree, but I believe strongly that you should not be out here not telling men that you're involved with that you're not trans. I mean that you're trans. Like, it's important that you tell them, because it can be the difference between life or death. It's already enough that you have to be worried that niggas who do know that you're trans may harm you, but it'll be even worse dealing with the man who may have not gotten his shit together. And I understand that in an idealistic world, you know, no man should be killing anyone just because he found out they're trans, but unfortunately we don't live in that world. So now that we've gotten that out the way. So I met him on Tinder, and we started talking, conversing. We was chatting, and the vibe was good. Like, he was cool. He was very, like, inconsistent. Like, there would be times where we would talk, and then there'd be times where we wouldn't talk as much. But then it got to a point where he wanted to move things along. So the first time that I realized I should have told him was when he started requesting to FaceTime. Because I was like, well, once he hears my voice and sees my face, I felt like I have strong masculine features. I ain't ashamed to just say it, and I feel like it is what it is. That doesn't make me ugly. You know, people say that I look like a man in the comments, but they never call me ugly. So say what you want to say. I might look like a dude, but a pretty dude, so I ain't mad. So just make sure you throw the cute in there, baby girl. Okay. So he basically, like, he was trying to FaceTime, and I was obviously trying to avoid doing that. But then I got to a point where I was like, well, Morgan, maybe we should just go along with it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? He finds out we're trans. Okay, shit's gonna hit the fan, and like, we can just like take our loss. Like, this will be our L, and it's time for us to hold this L because it would be our fault. So I went to class that day, looked cute, got popping, because I already knew what I was gonna have to do. So I got back home, I took off my makeup. He's like, it's time for us to FaceTime or whatever. So I put on like the tiniest little bit of makeup, because I was like, look, he finna clock me regardless, so whether I do full beat or no beat, like, it's really not gonna make a difference. So we FaceTime, and as he and I are FaceTiming, like, we just talking, just kicking it, like, nothing major, like, nothing too crazy. Like, just talking about whatever, what of you. And yeah, like throughout the whole conversation, he never really mentioned me being trans. So in my mind, I'm like, bird? Like, how could he not have noticed? Like, I'm like, I thought it was very obvious, you know, like, I thought if it wasn't my face, it was gonna be my voice. I thought if it wasn't gonna be my voice, it was gonna be my face. I was like, something's gonna clock me. Like, even when I have in the past not told men, they always seem to pick up on certain cues, because it's like naturally we're trained to categorize humans. Naturally, we're trained to categorize humans as male or female. Now, granted, there's genders on the spectrum, sex is on the spectrum. You know, I don't want to hear your 5th grade biology, you know, explanation of it just being 2 genders and 2 sexes. No, look it up. There are disorders out there that really affect people who are, you know, not necessarily male or female, and you don't know what parts I got. So that all being said, let's shut that down. So it was like, I felt as though he would be trying to pick up on cues. So I'm like, eventually it's going to get a cue that screams male, and then he's going to really question me, and then I'm going to have to just tell him the truth, because I wasn't going to lie. Like, if I was put on the spot, I wasn't going to lie, because I felt like at that point we would really just be playing too much with one person's emotions and feelings, and we'd be getting ourselves in too deep into something, you know. And it's like, at that point, once you start lying on top of the first lie, it's like you're doing too much. Speaking of the conversation, like the whole conversation ended or whatever, and he had never really shown any inkling that he thought I might be trans. So I thought, okay, all right, either I'm like, he has to know. Like, maybe he already knew and just didn't give a shit, and I didn't need to explain it. Because some dudes, I mean, you know, I tell them I'm trans, and they be like, okay, I already knew that. Like, so, you know, sometimes you get clocked and you don't even, you know, have to explain yourself, because the dude already done clocked you and he ain't got no issue. He already trying to fuck. So I thought that Fluffy had already clocked my tea. We continue moving forward. So Fluffy was already in this city, and he was already, he already had his own shit. Like, he already had his own spot, like his own car. Like, he was already popping, to tell you the least. And he was a boxer. So this is what really made me nervous to tell him, because I'm like, he obviously has the capabilities of like beating the hell out of me. So I was like, before I end up on Fox News, I'ma just cut him off. So I kept telling myself, cut him off. But the vibe was so good that I was like, maybe he knows I'm trans and it doesn't matter. And it's like, there's no need to cut him off. So I'm like, I'll just see what happens. So over time, we kept talking, and he's inviting me to come over to his place and spend the night. And it's like, as a woman, you already know, when a man invites you over to his spot to spend the night, like, he asking you to bring a toothbrush, man, like, that means he's piping. Like, he's planning to pipe you. And he had already asked me questions that, like, obviously made it clear that, like, at some point he was planning to pipe. So I was like, because for me, intimacy, I'm not a sex person. Like, I like sex. Like, I have a very high sex drive. But it takes a lot for me to have sex with a person. Like, I have to really get to know you before I'm comfortable. And so it's like, a lot of times I have sex before I'm comfortable with a person, because for me, it takes, like, months to get comfortable with you. Like, it takes months to get comfortable, because I'm just not an open book. You know, I'm a friendly, outgoing woman, don't get me wrong, but I'm just not very open, and I'm not very trusting, and I'm not very, it takes a lot to work those walls that I normally have up with most people down. So I was already kind of like, like, I don't want to go and have sex with someone who I feel like we've been talking for maybe 2 or 3 months, but like at the same time, I'm like, I don't know you like that to be just having sex with you. And like, I don't know if it's going to be raw sex or condom sex, which, I mean, I think it was going to be condom sex, because I believe I asked him, but that's not the point. Later on after that, he was talking to me and he's like, yo, like, you should really come over. Like, why are you BSing? And I felt like I was getting to a point where it was coming off like I was BSing. So I was like, okay, we can't keep BSing, because clearly that's not going to work. So I typed up a message. And the message was something like, and I can't remember word for word, but I was basically like, hey, Fluffy, I don't know how to tell you this, and please don't be angry, but you do have every right to be upset, because I lied to you and you deserve to know the truth. I'm a trans woman. If you want to end things, you know, and never speak to me again, I can completely understand. And any type of anger you have towards me, I can completely understand. and whatever you feel like you need to get off your chest, disrespectful or not, I can understand because of blah, blah, blah. So he was just, and to my surprise, Fluffy was just like, yo, I'm not into trans women, but we can still be cool. We can still be friends. Like, I ain't got no issue with it. Like, it is what it is. And so, and I interpret that as, we ain't gonna be friends. Like, you are completely turned off. You discussed it. And so I just blocked him on everything after we had that little bit of a talk where I was like, well, thank you for not being violent. And he was like, nah, I ain't a hateful person. I ain't violent, which was a good thing. Now, that was maybe a year prior to me coming here this year. So recently, I was standing waiting to get some food, and guess who walks past me? Fluffy! So when Fluffy had no choice but to say something because he had to get past me. I was the person that was like in his way of getting to the next line. So he was like, excuse me. And I was like, you alright? But it's like the way he looked at me and I looked at him, it was like that, like, oh my God. And Fluffy's bigger in person than I thought he was. Like, he's like boxer built. Like, he's built like a boxer would be built. So you can imagine like big and stocky, like heavyweight champion, like Kimbo Slice type of build, like big, like could easily go into the NFL and be a linebacker. And so I was caught off guard because I knew Fluffy was full of muscle, but I didn't know he was like beefy muscle. So I was like, whoa. I was like, this guy could really kick my ass. Like, I don't want no smoke. Like, no smoke, no smoke. I really don't want it. Like, no. No. I've been seeing Fluffy at my school since that first time I saw him. And I mean, I guess it makes sense. He goes here. But at the same time, it's always awkward because it's always like, whoa, like, I feel like there needs to be some clearing of the air face to face, but like, it's been hard to do that because I'm not very good at like addressing conversations that make me uncomfortable. But yeah, so the moral of the story is, if you are trans, you should tell people up front. It just saves you a lot of like stressful scenarios. And I know that there will be people who feel the opposite. And I mean, I feel like then don't tell people you're trans at your own risk. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to ever justify somebody killing you because you didn't tell them. But I will say that you lessen the chance of that happening by telling them up front, because you don't know who you're dealing with, and you don't like, you really never know. And you never know if that one person is that one crazy person that will go ballistic, like, you know. And I don't want to ever put myself in dangerous situations like those. So that situation with Fluffy has taught me to always disclose. And from then till now, I've always disclosed to every dude I've ever dated since him. And I mean, since he was the only guy I've ever done that to, but like every dude before that, I feel like I've disclosed. I'm pretty sure I have. I don't think I've ever not disclosed. And then with him, it was an isolated incident. And then it reminded me of why I disclosed, because I don't even like the pressure of feeling like I need to like come out to you at one point. So yeah, that was my story of the one time I was being reckless and being a little bit petty, and I have learned my lesson. So you guys can give me your thoughts on it and tell me how you like the makeup, because the makeup is popping. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.